This video is about the different ways you can build up numeracy within the lower numbers. Children tend to do very well with that in terms of 1 through 5, but 6, 7, 8, and 9 become problematic, and they really need to know all the different ways to make those numbers and become very fluent within them, because when it comes to being able to regroup in their minds, to automatically add 7 plus 5 and know that 7 is made of 2 and 5, so they can just put the two fives together to make 10 and then two more to make 12. They really need to understand how to break down those numbers. So she says there's a real lack of knowledge that students take from the lower grades up, and then even in middle school they aren't fluent within all those combinations. So the first thing you want to talk about, she has students build what she calls their first calculators, which are pipe cleaners with a set number of beads on them. So say this week you're studying 7. Then she would say, you would talk about it. Okay, they have 7 on here. What are all the different ways we can add up to 7? Well, we can have nothing, which is 0 and 7. We can have 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 4 and 3, then 4 and 3 this way, 5 and 2, 6 and 1, and 0 and 7. So you can use that to explore, ask them questions like how much would you add to 4 to make 7, or do subtraction, addition, either way. You also want to look at it on a number line, always acknowledging that we start at 0, and then we can add in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can even say, okay, well, here we are. We have 2. So let's go 1, 2. All right, 1, 2. And then we're going to add on to 2. We're going to add 5 more. Where will that take us? All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So definitely she's a big proponent of using number lines to understand and be able to see them, particularly when you're reciting numbers, skip counting. She's really big into using number lines as a near point reference so they can really see how those numbers build. And then where did my erase go? Oh, well. Oh, here it is. Another thing that you can utilize are the unifix cubes. This is something that she also says is, really helpful in terms of them seeing the different combinations, different ways you can build for 7. So this is a worksheet that she created. And it starts off with them building it and coloring the first one, right, to actually sort of have that illustrated on a concrete level, but then moving what she calls to the representational level, which is coloring in and then seeing, okay, well, then you can also do it with 5 and 2 make 7, and exploring all the different ways through coloring. So the unifix cubes are another excellent way to do it. Another one is talking about the dot patterns that you'll see on dice and dominoes. And she could say, you can even give them some, and then they can see, oh yeah, okay, I can see how 4 and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is all about subitizing and about whether students can, she calls it, there's, I forget what they're called. One is like conceptual subitizing, one is perceptual, but essentially there's the ones that they can see by themselves, which goes up to the number 4, which they can keep in their minds without having a clear pattern. But then there's being able to put 2 patterns together and recognizing that as 7, or putting 2 patterns together and also like the 5 and the 2 and recognizing that as 7. So that idea that you can group 2 patterns that you recognize as separate numbers and put together and make them a new number. Finally, there is a game that she has them do. It's called Make-A. You can do it with all sorts of numbers, but essentially you are working on make a 7, and students will earn tally marks. It's a good way also to get them to work on their tally marks. So say there's student A and there's student B, and this will be student A's turn to roll, and they'll be playing make a 7. So they're going to look for, and they're going to try to see how many ways they can make a 7, but only with 2 dice at this level. So they're going to roll it and say, okay, 4 and 3, is that the only one? Okay, so they earn 5 tally marks. So then this is a practice also for making their tally marks. Student A got 5. Student B's turn, well, they got a 6 and a 1, and I think that's it, right? So they also got 5 tally marks. And you can have them say, we're going to roll a set amount of time, or we're going to play for this many minutes. There's another make-a. Okay, here's a 6, a 1, and that's it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But again, she says, students learn stuff. I guess she had some statistic. It was like 70% more through playing games. So it's a really valid way for students to practice. Look, and this student actually got 2 sets of tally marks. Student B, because they had 2 6 and 1s. So students really like this game called Make-A. So again, the dice, Unifix cubes, the pattern dots, and of those which could be on here, and then the coloring in and representing them and using the number line are all good ways to build their comfortability and their understanding of these lower numbers and how to break them down and build them up.